Welcome to May 2025. How's everyone doing? I'm Stella from Meeple University.
And I'm Tarrant.
And we are going to share you our top games, not just the 1 month, but the last 2 months.
Yes, we didn't do one of these last month because March was a bit of a lean month for playing. Stella was away with her family in Bali for a good chunk of March.
That's true.
So we thought we would hold it over, and we're going to each do a top 6 for March and April combined.
We are indeed. So these games are the ones we get from purchasing or getting a review copy or commission for it. But this video, these top games always and will always be our own opinion.
Yes, and there's a few prototypes among them this time.
Yep.
Which is probably usual for this time of year. Fewer new releases through the start of the year. More prototypes for what is to come.
Yes, but these prototypes is already looking really great.
Indeed.
All right, so let's kick it off. Tarrant, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start. In fact, why don't we both start, because it's
the
same result. We each have the same number 6 for this
Yep.
pair of months, and that is this little gem of a game here. It's called Gems of Antwerp.
It's by Bedouin Games, and this is going on Kickstarter soon. This is a I Split You Choose game.
Yes, with market in it. So there's 5 types of gems. They're worth between 3 and -1, and you score them each round, but you play over multiple rounds. In each turn, you have 6 cards. You pick one that will manipulate the market
Face
at
down.
the end of the round. And the rest you split into a set of 3, a set of 2, with one card revealed. Your neighbor picks one, you get stuck with the others, and you just sort them out. And you have to watch everyone's inventory as the game goes on. Obviously, you watch for where someone else has got way more than everyone else, and then you try to tank the price of that one. And anytime you end up with these couple of these things that are just kind of fun. It's got that mini rails fun about it.
Yes.
Where you can tank stuff that means money for other players. And you've also got just these occasional great moments where you bait someone into taking a completely worthless
That's really fun.
set of cards in the split draft.
So fun. So it could potentially easily be kind of like a gateway or gateway plus game for I Split You Choose and market manipulations, because it's really simple. And you just probably need like a round of play to know exactly what it is for newer players, but it's definitely is, simple rules, but then like difficult decisions. Very fun game.
The number 5 game for me is a prototype game called Relic Wars.
From Flying Pig.
Yes, and this is a little tactical, it's not quite a war game. I'd say it's like a tactical quick-fire battle game. It has a really nice pacing to it.
Yep.
So it is a game where the designer says it was inspired by some of those racing games where power-ups just appear everywhere. And so in this game, you're running around a map, flipping tiles. That will bring power-ups into play. And as you collect them, you then either have to go and find 3 chalice power-ups or nick them from the other players, or you go and be the last one standing by attacking all of the other players.
Yeah.
And it is, there's a number of games out there which are quickish battle types of games like that. But I think the pacing here works really well. Sometimes it's quicker because it's easy to heal. Because it's harder to heal. Sometimes it takes longer, but you've got to respond to that. And you have these really quick, snappy turns.
Yes.
That's what I like. You've got 2 actions. When you're in a tactical type of thing like that, 2 actions is always a nice thing, because you get to chain a little bit together, but not heaps together. You don't have much downtime. And then some random events happen as well. So, it plays really nicely.
Yes, and it has a little bit of tension as well when somebody has got 3 chalices and that person is running around and trying to not get hit or get stolen from.
Yep,
and
because they have to survive an extra turn before they win. It's not immediate.
Yeah, and the feel it's like Lego Rashes or Mario Kart as well. Just like, like a kind of like some random fun throw at it. It's quick fun game. 5th game for me is Holopack. Now, this is currently on crowdfunding when we record this, early May. And this is by the publisher Studio Meeple, who brought in Beast. So a very popular game when it came out, and this is their second game, and this is a one versus many, but the many they semi-cooperative. So they're not fully cooperative. They technically needs to win on their own. So, or I should say competitive with some cooperative elements.
It's hard to describe ultimately.
It's quite unique.
It has the feel of one versus many because there is one character with one type of ability and then the many are kind of doing stuff together. But yes, ultimately it is competitive. Everyone has a win, a lose, or an intermediate result. Yeah. And so, even I failed to explain it as well. You continue.
No, that's perfect. We do have a how to play video for this. So check it out if you really want to know the details. It's really fun and it's quite unique. Tarrant just said it. It's the many, they have their own secret objective and they have to carry this secret cargo, which they don't actually know what it is. They are affected, let them know. So there's one cargo that needs to be brought out to the correct exit depending on their secret objective. And while this person, the secret cargo is actually the egg of the beast. And this beast is trying to kill everybody else or trying to gain that secret cargo. Or kill the one that brings the secret cargo. So it needs the egg back, obviously. So it's thematically fun, and the beast also can do some nasty things, trying to kill and then trying to curse, or even trying to turn the other player into their ally. So it's really fun.
Yeah, I think what they've done very cleverly here, and this is something I've always said that was very good about Nemesis. This is on a quicker scale, but it's semi-cooperative, own objectives, but the game is unlikely to end really quickly.
Yeah.
The things that will bring victory or defeat tend to hold over until towards the second half or the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so you know you're going to get a similar length experience every time, and you know it's going to be tense until the end.
Very tense. Meow.
Need 7 more meows for that. This is my number 4 game. It's a game called Cat in 8. It is... in the game, you'll have a board set up. It'll have a whole lot of little cat toy icons all over it. And when you have cards in your hand, and it's essentially you play a card and you put a cat down that matches the cat toy you played. And I think there's 3 copies of each one. So you've got a little bit of flexibility. You can also exchange your cards. And you're trying to create, I think of them as words of cats because the scoring is very Scrabbly. Once you make or extend a row or column or diagonal, which is 3 or more cats, you score that many points. So you make a row of 3, you get 3 points, you add 1 to it, you get another 4 points, and so on. So it has this kind of Scrabbly vibe to it. It's a pretty light game, and you don't always have full control over what you're doing because you are limited to the cards that are in your hand. So you're not going to go into this for a highly strategic experience. But it is a very fun experience, and it's fun picking the cards and trying to figure out when's the right time to swap your hand out because you need something else.
Yeah.
And there are some chaos cards that let you really mess with the board, rotate sections of the board or slide bits of the board around to get these big hits of points. And so it plays really well. It plays in kind of a family Scrabble. It's the sort of game that's a good introduction to how Scrabble works without having to have a great vocabulary.
Yes.
Quirkle was always that as well, but this is a bit more chaos and a bit less strategic.
Yes.
But it's a great game.
I agree. The escalation is very satisfying when you try to chain your points together, trying to place your thing together. For me, well, it is also fun for me, but I struggle a little bit in rotation, spatial rotation part. So you know this with me. So there was still, it's a very fun game. Number 4 is Vines and Flowers. This is on Kickstarter, coming out on Kickstarter. Now, this is a tile placement game that is 3D, does not require dexterity. So it's a very tactical. What I love about it is that the points at the end, you have to generalize. So you score, so you're collecting flowers, right? 5 different flowers, and you score the lowest set of flowers you have. So you must collect all of them.
Yes, and there is a wild token as well, so it's very much Tigris and Euphrates,
yes.
And it's the games that have followed on from that. If you've played those, you understand the scoring right away. But it is not, it doesn't have that same, the rest of it is not the same. You are building up a trellis and you're trying to match up flowers and get little clusters of flowers together because that's what's going to give you the points.
Mm-hmm.
It has a market with skip over in it, so you know, take the cheapest or spend cards to get spend points to get others, which sit on there. So that's the century type of card drafting.
That's basically it. On your turn, you either take the tiles or play the tiles and score all connected flowers that is in that trellis. Yes. So you get a lot of them if you can combo or chain a lot of flowers, but there are like some other tactical consideration as well.
Yeah, because it can always end up leaving an even bigger hit of points for someone else.
Yeah.
If you score it but don't close it off.
Yes.
Number 3 for me is a game which is currently on crowdfunding called Night Soil. But this one is going to appear a little bit later in Stella's countdown, so we'll skip the details for now and come back to this one later.
Number 3 for me, also called 3, Magi. This is still prototype coming to crowdfunding, is by the same publisher as Gems of Antwerp. This different game.
Yeah, so it's a game of trying to chain cards together largely. So you've got a little movement puzzle where you've got 3 camels and you always have to move one of them forward into a new space and its own space, but you have to keep them together in a cluster. So you have to work out give you some flex for how quickly or slowly you move across the map. As you go through, you're going to be collecting cards which are resources, which you can either cash in for creating gifts, it's essentially contract fulfillment, or you can play those cards and those cards will give you track advancements and some of them combo together for end of round points.
Multi-use card as well.
Multi-use cards, which you always enjoy, and it gives you these different ways of going about trying to score as many points as you can.
It's a very fun game with the movement puzzle. And yes, as Tarrant says, correct. So it is a multi-use card where you can play to advance certain things to gain points and other benefits. And also engine building. And you score each rounds, which means that, there's this race to get the best score at the round. And then there's also endgame scoring. So there's set collection as well and contract fulfillment. So all thrown with the movement puzzle. It's really fun.
Number 2 for me for this pair of months is the 2nd edition of Assyria.
Which is my number 2 as well.
Very good.
So this is by Garfield Games. We have not played the original edition of Assyria, so we cannot compare this. But from what I heard, it's very different.
Yes, so this is it's a game. The Assyria First Edition was 15 years ago now, and I can certainly sense in this there are elements of 15 years ago Euro in it. Feels like it to me anyway. It is a game where you are. The back end of the game is very typical Euro. You get your resources, you spend them to go up on tracks, and tracks give you points. One of them will combo points for the stuff you build. There's building things that are its own reward. It's all of that. But the part that's quite interesting and the part that feels a little older is the placement puzzle. So every turn you're putting down huts, and they're not very permanent huts. You're a nomadic tribe. You're putting down huts and spending food based on what hex they're on to keep those huts alive. If you keep them alive, they score points and you can turn them into ziggurats and they give you jumping off points for other huts. Yep. And most importantly, there's 2 rivers on the board and you have to fight for the river spaces because rivers give you action points.
Yep,
you have to get your pieces on rivers, not defend them because no one can destroy them, but you have to feed them, which means you have to collect the food that you need to feed those. And the food is quite a competitive aspect as well because there's a turn order draft bid for it, which can become quite brutal.
Yeah.
And you get a really poor quality because it's always ranked. I've got to step back. I'm jumping over everything here, but there's a turn order bid.
There's a lot going on.
And you've got a bid on whether you get the worst cards for the best position in turn order. So there's all these old school interactive things going on.
It's very interesting and very interactive as well. This is probably one of the more interactive Garfield Games game, I would say, because for me it doesn't really matter that much. For you, it's matter more for the interaction.
Yeah, possibly the most interactive they've done since Architects of the West Kingdom, where you're capturing each other's meeples.
Yes. I love that hard decisions like cards, yes, it is free, can come fast and hard, but then you got to feed them and you got to have to see, like you can get points if you put it outside the river or not on the river. There's like juicy points in between the rivers, but if you put in the rivers, they're going to go on the 3rd and 6th rounds, and games go for 6 rounds, and you must need it because otherwise you can't do anything. There's no action point.
Yeah.
So that's, and then you know it's going to go anyway, but you have no choice but to build them there.
Yeah, it's got that brass reset thing going on. Because halfway through the game, you just sweep everything off the river and then everyone has to go and fight for it again.
Yeah.
Very much like the reset in brass.
Yeah. Yes.
Which, of course, came out 2 years before the very first release of Assyria. So, yeah.
Again, we do have related videos. We'll link it below, including this one. We have videos. Might not be released yet, but it will be there eventually.
Which brings us to my favourite game that I played in the last 2 months, and that is this lovely little game called Lone Wolves.
It's a 2-player trick-taking or area control game.
Yeah, I don't like to think of it as trick-taking, but I'll explain that. So this is, this is a game that came out last year. This would absolutely have been a top 5 game for me last year. I'm sad I hadn't played it in time to get it into our top 10s of 2024. And we had so many
games,
so many discussions last year about all the great 2-player games that came out. This one is really, really good. It is one of those Hanamakoji, Caper Europe styles, Jixia Academy styles of game where 2 players are putting cards on. There's 5 areas, and 2 players are fighting to get their cards on one side of each, and then if you win a majority of majorities, you win the game. Yeah, very typical sort of 2-player game. In fact, I think, wasn't that my favourite game in February, was Tug of War? It was another game in that sort of style.
Yeah.
In this particular one, so there's 5 areas. It's not just majority and majority, because they're individually worth between 7 and 12 points. And how the cards go down resembles trick-taking. I don't think of it as trick-taking because the aim is not to take the trick, but there's always a player that leads and there's always a player that follows and has to follow suit. There could be a trump suit. And if you win the trick, the pair that goes down, you keep that card face up for its face value. And so when you're evaluating the majority, it counts for its face value, which will be between 2 and 7. The other player flips theirs face down and it's worth only 1. But the loser gets to pick one of the scar tokens that's on that space. And the scars have these extra abilities. Then you put them down and they can give you ways of just gaining extra points, or it could be an objective where you put it down and you score points for all of the cards that you've had to flip on that particular side. Or it lets you mess with how many points each of the different areas is worth. So someone's like got their majority here, but then you're like, it's not worth 12 points anymore. It's now worth 7. There's a important timing aspect because there's trump will change as you go through. So when the scars are gone, it sets a new trump. So you've got this influence over when you hold cards back, or when you've got cards in your hand that make a good trump, you can go in for that. Each area is limited to 6 total cards, so you can box your opponent out of adding anything else by like winning with the 4th card in that area and then playing another one in the 5th. So it's got all these aspects. You don't have to play in the same area within the same tricks. So that's why I don't think of it as trick-taking.
That's true.
But the mechanism uses trick-taking better than any 2-player trick-taking game I've played. Really good game. Lots of interesting things to think about. Lots of meaty little decisions in like a 20-minute, 25-minute contest.
Tarrant's really good at planning this one. It's really fun to play a game. It's Tug of... I had to think of it. Tug of War, not Tug of War. That's the other game. Tug of War.
That Tug of War type of thing.
Yes,
so,
very
went
fun.
under the radar, I think, last year. There were a few reviewers who really liked it, but I didn't see a lot of buzz about it. I think it's a really good game.
It's probably like a distribution thing. It needs to be distributed more, hopefully. So it's definitely a fun game. All right, my first top favorite game is Night Soil, which you've seen as previously.
Yes, it was my number 3. So now let's let's
Dive
talk
in,
about it. So
yeah.
this is it's a different kind of, it's kind of an Assyria type of thing as well, because it's got this interesting
Yes.
worker placement with area management type of thing.
And the other thing that is like Assyria, like you have to wait for this. But firstly, the theme. The theme is about sanitation in Tudor London. So it's a very mature game of the crew that used to work and then cleaning, because there's no indoor plumbing there, right? So you just like clean London. The theme is reflected in the artwork as well. You see that it's very fun artwork in that sort of era.
Yeah, it's got that tapestry kind of feel to the way the art has been drawn.
Yeah.
And it's a game that has, I would say there's two main phases to think of.
Mm-hmm.
And during the day, you've got your workers. Workers are neutral colours, so you're always putting them on the map, taking an action. And in each space, there's a different action. And when you put your worker down, whether it's a small or large worker, it produces night soil cubes. And each area can only hold a certain number of cubes, and that's how it becomes a limited worker placement, because certain spaces get blocked out once they are full.
Yeah.
Then you go into the night phase where all the night watchmen are moving the waste on. And you've got cards, and you go back and forward or around the table,
Activating your worker.
activating them,
Yeah.
taking an action, and these cards move the waste around. And
Or sometimes the workers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But mainly waste.
mainly the waste around. And as you're cleaning areas, if you're the one who manages to move, there's two things you can try to do. If you're the one who cleans a neighborhood by moving the last cube out of it, you claim that neighborhood. And as long as it stays clean before the start of your next turn or any of your next turns, you pick up any coins, which are points, and workers, giving you more actions next round from that space. So you need to be managing that to get actions on your next round.
Is it?
Again,
Yes,
it's like
it's
Assyria,
very-
right?
Yeah.
You can end up with like no actions or very few actions because you
Yeah.
handle that phase.
And that was
incorrectly.
the second one that I was going to say, which is your actions determined by, or your action points kind of determined by your actions the previous round to see how much of those you're going to get. It's very, very fun. It's just like there's so many variations of the cards as well to move the cubes around. So when you combo it like really well, and on top of that, there's also this sort of like Catan style. You have the most of something, kind of like area control in this track, and you get the power, and that's also could be really powerful, and you can use it to your advantage to win the game.
Yeah, so it's these overlapping tracks, and you have to pay often quite a bit of money to get your markers on these
Yes.
tracks. And the tracks just have their own rewards, but then as you have majorities in them, you get these extra temporary powers. Ultimately, all of this leads towards your aim, which is to try to sweep as many cubes off the board and into the Thames as you can, because that's where a lot of your points are going to come from.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an unusual game. You don't see that many
No.
games. As I kept saying, Assyria had this old world kind of
Yes.
feel to it. Night Soil has very much that same feel.
It's
You
such
can
that
end up
vibe.
with really terrible rounds because you just mishandle or get
Yes.
boxed out of the Night Soil movement phase.
Yes. But
And it can be a very frustrating game.
Well, it has a way of catching up, though. I remember in one of our games, you could like pretty much caught up in that, and I was putting myself in bad position. So it's still like it's not like your whole game is ruined because of that. You can still have a chance to catch up, but you can see that we've been enjoying games from Grail games and Garfield games, and now Bedouin games. So, and this is the first time we did a game for Studio Mid-Hole. We haven't played Beast. So we'll be watching out for games from those publishers in the future. So hopefully you have enjoyed that, and please do share your highlights of the month in the comments. And thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.